So good morning, YouTube. Uh, I decided to just restart Jefferson reads the newspaper. It just seemed, well, some crazy construction outside. It just seemed like now was the time to do it. I remember when I first started Jefferson reads the newspaper, I was expecting the impeachment of Trump to happen soon. I don't remember what scandal of his prompted that thought, but I remember I was like, okay, I want to be able to look back and see myself talking about the impeachment of Donald Trump when I'm old. And now that it's started officially, here's Chief Justice John Roberts getting sworn in. I believe he is the third Chief Justice to preside over a Senate trial of the President of the United States of America. So not a whole lot of precedent for him to go on. My guess is he'll be kind of like his predecessor, William Rehnquist, who is pretty hands-off. He, I believe, clerked for Rehnquist, so it would make sense for him to kind of go in those footsteps. I just wanted to get my new sponsors in here before too long. We got the Boss Inhaler Natural Aromatherapy Blend. It's basically like mints for your nose. It's really good. You just smell it, and it smells like mint. And it clears up your nostrils a little bit. We also have Planters Peanuts, dry roasted Planters Peanuts. You can just eat these. They're a good source of protein. And that's it for sponsors right now. Of course, we are still not sponsored by Juul. Nicotine candy for your brain. But let's get to the news, huh? Senate trial of Trump begins. Probably just read about the impeachment stuff for a little bit. In this image from video, Senator Charles E. Grassley, Republican from Iowa, in his role as President Pro Temp of the Senate, swears in Chief Justice John G. Roberts Jr. on Thursday in the Senate chamber as the presiding officer for the impeachment trial of President Trump. Sides at odds over scope of evidence. New Ukraine revelations stoke partisan passions. The third impeachment trial in U.S. history officially began Thursday amid a swirl of new allegations about President Trump's dealing with Ukraine, which several Republicans rushed to downplay as they dismissed Democrats' calls for further investigation. Lev Parnas, a former associate of Trump's personal lawyer Rudolph W. Giuliani, has alleged that Trump knew of his role in the effort to dig up dirt in Ukraine that could benefit the president politically. The central issue in House Democrats' case for removing the president from office, and this week provided Congress with documents to buttress his claims. Trump, who has appeared in several pictures with Parnas, denied knowing him on Thursday. Republican lawmakers appeared unswayed by the new information, focusing on attacking the Democrat-led investigation in the House for not uncovering the evidence before sending the articles to the Senate. So Republicans are still just attacking process because they have no substantive defense of their dear leader. It's quite shameful. Look, no Republicans were for the inquiry to begin with, so why would we be under any sort of obligation to feel like we need to complete the work that we never even agreed should have begun in the first place? So Rand Paul said that. It's like they just want to turn a blind eye to the corruption that seems to be unfolding before their eyes. Parnas ties to Pence's snub of Ukraine. Parnas ties Pence's snub of Ukraine to Giuliani's effort. Lev Parnas said he arrived for his May meeting in Kiev with a top aide to Ukrainian President-elect Volodymyr Zelensky, with a clear directive from Rudolph W. Giuliani, President Trump's personal lawyer. Unless Zelensky announced an investigation. What is a personal lawyer? What does that fucking mean? He doesn't seem to be doing much lawyering. He seems to just be eating and drinking like crazy. Did anyone read that New York Magazine interview with him where he was drunk the whole time? For the GOP at Trump Hotel, the entire place is a lobby. There are key locations in the drama that led to President Trump's impeachment. The steakhouse table where Trump's private lawyer set out a nameplate Rudolph W. Giuliani private office, the upstairs hideaway where Giuliani's team planned its outreach to Ukraine, at the expensive bar where Giuliani's team met an odd figure, Robert F. Hyde, a big talking ex-Marine who claimed to have the U.S. ambassador to Ukraine under surveillance. All three places are within 300 yards of each other, in the lobby of Trump International Hotel. This whole episode sounds like middle school boys playing a game called President. And it's just like, it's what I would have thought to do when I was in middle school. Oh, this ambassador doesn't like me? Yeah, we're going to watch her and we can take her out. You can do anything in Ukraine with money. Fucking Robert F. Hyde. Like, you realize you're threatening a sitting U.S. ambassador. Seems like not the greatest idea. Putin's latest power gamut. Russian puts pieces in place to retain control well into the future. In 1999, Russia's President Boris Yeltsin appointed a competent, little-known security official named Vladimir Putin as acting prime minister. What are you chilling on? Oh. As acting prime minister before steering him into the presidency. Here, Yeltsin sought was a loyalist who would protect him and his family from prosecution, but also safeguard Yeltsin's legacy, a Russia that could never return to communism. On Wednesday, Putin nominated a competent, little-known tax official named Mikhail Mishustin as prime minister. But unlike Yeltsin, Putin will not relinquish control when his term expires in 2024 or risk what he sees as his legacy, a strong authoritarian state carving out a growing role on the global stage. Ms. Hudson, rubber-stamped as prime minister by Russian lawmakers on Thursday, is seen by analysts as an obedient technocrat who will do what Putin tells him, and if not, he will be blamed and probably replaced. Like all unchallenged rulers, most notably China's Xi Jinping, Putin believes that no one else can do the job as well as he. To maintain his grip on power later, Putin has tried to curb presidential powers before he steps down. But the announcement Wednesday to shift some greater authority to parliament was no nod to democracy. Opposition candidates will remain shut out. Putin saw the collapse of the Soviet Union as a colossal misstep. Alright, well, I want to read more about the impeachment. See what we got. Trump moves to bolster protections for prayer worship in public schools. There shouldn't be any protections. Anyone read the first fucking amendment? Did anyone read the First Amendment? It's the first one. I know there's, 27 amendments? How many amendments are there? Let's see. Siri, how many amendments are on the U.S. Constitution?
I found this on the web.
All right. 33 amendments to the United States Constitution have been proposed. 27 have been ratified. Okay. 27. So I know there's 27 amendments, since Siri just told me. But, read the first one. It's pretty Easy. It basically just said, you can say whatever the fuck you want. Trump moves to bolster protections for prayer, worship, in public schools. The Trump administration is moving to strengthen protections for students who want to pray or worship in public schools and is proposing changes to make it easier for religious groups that provide social services to access federal funds, a development that comes as the president seeks to shore up support among evangelicals. Alright, well, that's basically all you need to know right there. Pandering to the dumb. I mean, the fact that evangelicals support this man is so hypocritical, it makes my head spin. I can't even really talk about it without getting too angry. And one of the things my producer said is that I should probably get less angry on here. Parnas's revelations magnify Trump's woes as trial begins. Yeah, I'd say. Liz Cheney opts out of run for Senate. Gotta get the nose mints. Cheney opts out of run for Senate seat to seek re-election in the House. So Liz Cheney's just going to run in the House. Makes sense. There's only one House seat in Wyoming. 2 Senate seats, so it's almost more exclusive. She's also the highest-ranking woman in the House GOP leadership, which, the GOP, they don't have a lot of women because they hate women. And so I guess she sees it as an opportunity to be speaker. Who would be the speaker? I guess Kevin McCarthy? Yeah. Liz Cheney will stab him in the back. Sanders-Warren split highlights liberals' dilemma, purity or pragmatism. Actually, what it does is it highlights how much of a piece of shit CNN is. CNN pretty much completely manufactured that whole thing. I don't think Sanders or Warren particularly played it well, but, that was just disgusting. Trump's legal team could upend McConnell's vision of a dignified Senate trial. There's nothing dignified about anything that the Republicans are doing. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell gave a knowing smile when only the hiccup of Thursday's formalities got resolved. After a brief call from unknown. Hello?
We've been trying to reach you concerning your car's extended warranty. You should have received something in the mail about your car's extended warranty. Since we have not gotten a response, we are giving you a final courtesy call before we close out your file. Press 2 to be removed and put on our do not...
I don't know what that's about. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell gave a knowing smile when the only hiccup of Thursday's formalities got resolved. After a brief pause, Justice John G. Roberts Jr. realized he had to gavel the impeachment trial out of session, adjourning until Tuesday. McConnell got the day's ending he had hoped for, a Senate looking somber and serious as it conducts President Trump's impeachment trial. A Senate that might, as he put it a day before, be capable of rising above short-termism and factional fever. But that fever lingers as the sides jockey for position when the real phase of the trial kicks in. With early skirmishes about calling witnesses getting overtaken by talks about what limits could be placed on the presentation of evidence, and the biggest issues, some senators say, could come when Trump's legal team takes its allotted time to rebut the case from House impeachment managers. So far, more than 4 months after the Ukraine scandal broke, Trump and his advisors have given sparse explanation. The fact that we call this the Ukraine scandal is exactly what Russia wanted. Russia just keeps winning in their attempt to upend our democracy. Trump and his advisors have given sparse explanation for their side of the story. The White House press office quit holding a daily briefing many months ago, leaving public comments to those moments when Trump engages in impromptu gaggles with the media. His lawyers sent angry letters to House Democrats during their impeachment proceedings that denounced what Trump considered profound procedural deficiencies, but did not spell out the facts of the case. president declined to send his legal team to the House Judiciary Committee's hearings, instead leaving his GOP allies to make arguments on his behalf. McConnell, knowing that he currently has the votes to acquit Trump, does not want the Senate trial to come off looking anything like the partisan brawl in the House or a typical Trumpian event. With a handful of GOP incumbents facing difficult re-elections in November, McConnell wants a quick, clean, dignified trial to protect their political fortunes as well as his own. There we go. That's why some Democrats believe his defense team could provide the most dramatic moment of the trial. I think they have to make a choice when the lawyers show up to the Senate. So that's kind of a fulcrum moment, Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, Democrat, said in an interview, explaining the Democratic anticipation for the Trump team's presentation. Do they put on evidence of massive Ukrainian corruption and why President Trump withheld aid until that corruption was cleaned, or do they claim it was all hearsay? Some Republicans share that anticipation for the Trump lawyers, believing the moment will finally give them opportunity to forcefully defend the president. Why do you want to defend this president? I don't know. He hasn't had a chance to make his case. He'll have that chance in the Senate. The Senate owes that to him, and I think Congress owes that to the country, Senator Roy Blunt told reporters Tuesday. And some Republicans who witnesses said their decision could hinge on the president's lawyers. You know, I haven't heard from the president's team, his defense, so I'd like to hear the president's defense, said Mitt Romney. No one knows for sure what approach the team will take or whether it will prompt a series of objections from the House managers or Democratic jurors over the nature of the evidence they present. So far, Trump's senior advisors have signaled only that they probably will not take 3 days to present their case, as President Bill Clinton's lawyers did during the last impeachment trial in 1999, and believed the trial could wrap up in about 2 weeks. At a briefing for reporters Wednesday, presidential officials suggested they would be fine without calling additional witnesses. But where they go with their own presentation is unclear. And Trump's aides has often said one thing only to be preempted by the president's mercurial decisions, leading some to wonder what orders he will give his lawyers when it is finally their turn. Senator Richard Blumenthal from Connecticut, as he entered Thursday's preliminary proceedings, said he is still trying to learn how Democrats can object if Trump's lawyers wander into territory that they believe is unrelated to the case. What is the procedure for blocking that evidence? Do the managers have to object? Can senators object? And how is it going to be done? They have argued against the testimony of Hunter Biden, son of former Vice President Joe Biden, whose former position on the board of a Ukrainian gas company has been at the center of Trump's efforts to pressure that nation's leader into investigating the Bidens. But few senators seem to grasp what rules govern evidence for either House managers or Trump's lawyers. I think there's not a limitation on what they can present, Senator Rand Paul said, suggesting both sides have a pretty free hand in presenting whatever case they want to make. If the president's legal team wants to diverge deeply into Hunter Biden, that is fine, Paul said. How you defend yourself would be up to your team. Other Republicans, upon a steady stream of new documents coming from House Democrats, argued that House Intelligence Committee Chairman Adam B. Schiff, the lead manager, should be limited only to the evidence that was presented up to the December 18 votes on 2 articles of impeachment for abuse of power and obstruction of justice. The Senate's official rules on impeachment do not give much specificity on the matter. The presiding officer on the trial may rule on all questions of evidence, including, but not limited to, questions of relevancy, material, and redundancy of evidence, and incidental. I don't think I'm still pronouncing that wrong. Incidental Rule 7 states. That suggests that senators can voice objection to Roberts, whose options would be to make a ruling and see if senators call for a vote on that ruling, or just put the objection up to a vote of the full Senate. This runs the risk of turning the trial into a series of stops and starts as Republicans or Trump's teams object to the presentations by Democratic managers, or the managers objects to the president's opinions. All that would destroy McConnell's vision of a Senate rising above factional fever, resembling the battle that took place in the House. I mean, the biggest problem here, Paul Kane, is that you assume McConnell actually means what he says. Like a breeding ground, Trump Hotel is a mix of GOP insiders and hanger-ons. Did I read that in the beginning? No. For 3 years, Trump's hotel near the White House has been a loose, anybody welcome hangout for Republicans. Candidates raise money in the ballrooms, congressmen and lobbyists dine. And this is all going into the president's pockets. How is this not an annulment violation? In the steakhouse, hangers-on wait at the bar taking selfies in America's living room. The arrangement that worked for Republicans because it compressed a city's worth of networking into one room. It worked for Trump because he converted political allies into private customers. But the hotel's atmosphere of blurred lines, mixing the public interest with Trump's private interests, in mixing the GOP's leaders in its wannabe fringes, has helped give rise to a scandal that threatens to overshadow Trump's presidency. Giuliani and his team didn't just meet at Trump Hotel, they embodied its world. I spent 2 years going to Washington and I didn't see the monument, said Lev Parnas, who is a central figure in Giuliani's effort to pressure Ukraine to investigate Trump's political rival, former Vice President Joe Biden. All I saw was the Trump Hotel. Trump opened his hotel before he won the presidency, having spent more than $200 million to renovate the government-owned old post office building near the White House. After he won, Trump kept his ownership of the hotel, operated under a federal lease. How is this legal? Like, I know we're impeaching him about Ukraine, but, like, how is it legal that he has a hotel that has become a lobbyist mecca? I don't understand. That's why I need some nose mints. John Roberts wants to protect the judiciary's image while in a hyper-partisan arena. Good luck with that, John. Ukraine requests FBI help in probe into possible surveillance of U.S. envoy. God, the news is not good. I think I'm just going to become a freelance journalist and start getting my own news. I might just go drink in Trump Hotel, see who's there. Anyway, that's about 23 minutes. It seems like a pretty quick summary of the Senate trial. Nothing really happening yet. It's more just anticipatory. I imagine these will get longer as the trial goes on, and I want to cover more details. But for now, I'll keep it short since I'm just getting back into it. Anyway, thank you, no one, for watching, and I hope no one ever watches. I'll see you tomorrow.